Hey friends, welcome back to another video. I have been thinking about this a lot, especially as now we're in September, which means it's journaling and planning season, and it's just taken me a while to really get through what my plans are for my journaling lineup. 2026 is truly going to be my year of minimalist journaling. In the few years that I've gotten into stationary journaling, it's been a really fun time of exploration and having fun and probably a bit of overconsumption. But at this point, especially as a mom with 2 young kids, I need to just set the bar low for myself with going back to the true intention of journaling for myself, and that's to continue documenting family memories and also having a space for my personal writing and creative pursuits. So that's going to be my intent for 2026, keeping things low pressure and being able to just adapt to different phases that I may be going through during the year. So in this video, I'm going to go through how my 2025 journals have been going and then the intended lineup of journals and planners that I'll be using for the new year. The first journal I have here is the A6 Hobonichi HON, and this is in the bow and tie snakes pattern. My Chinese zodiac sign is a snake, so I knew I had to get something in this pattern. I really wanted to get back into the habit of personal daily journaling, as I had fallen off personal journaling in 2024. I thought that the A6 size would be a perfect fit for daily writing, and the dated format of the Hobonichi Techo would give me the motivation to at least write down a few thoughts or lines a day. And the HON was exactly what I needed in 2025 to get back into that habit of daily personal journaling, and I actually stuck to it every day, and I'm still working through this because it doesn't end until January, I believe. So I still have a couple months to go in this. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually complete it, but I'm at the point where I think I'm okay with moving on to the next journal that I'll be using in 2026 and possibly just starting that already. I will say that I feel satisfied with what I did use this for and that I was able to complete almost every day in this journal, which was my intent for 2025. I definitely stuck to journaling at least every day and getting back into personal journaling. I think my perfectionism did kick in a bit though, and sometimes I found myself just spending more time decorating pages than purely journaling, which was my original intent. And then at times, because of that, I just avoided writing because I felt like I wanted to decorate things first. But thankfully, because the A6 is a smaller notebook, even if I scribbled a few notes or thoughts or just like stuck a photo of my day in a page, it would fill up, and generally that felt okay for me. In the beginning, I just had kind of a strict rule in my head that this journal wouldn't have any photos or decorations, but just purely writing. But as someone who enjoys stationery and decorating as a form of creative and relaxing time, it happened and I just went along with it. And I always tell myself I'm only going to use photos in my family memory keeping journal, which I had been doing in an A6 Hobonichi notebook. But to be honest, because my kids and my family are such a big part of my daily life, photos are also just a natural part of my personal journal. So it just flowed into that as well. And I know that sounds a little bit intense, but I really had to come to terms with this on a personal level and just tell myself it's okay. And honestly, I do still love looking back at the occasional photos that I added to my personal journal, which just kind of supplements or even stands alone for my writing on some days. I think right now I'm struggling with the A6 HON, and I don't know if it's because I'm just currently in a really busy season or just a mix of getting bored of this format and the size and all this planning and thinking about 2026. But I am satisfied with all of the pages that I did do and everything that I succeeded in by mostly journaling daily in this notebook. And this runs until end of December, so I think for now I'm okay with where I am with the A6 HON, and I think I'm happy with all that I used it for. Only thing that I struggle with in a dated Hobonichi is just all these calendar pages that I don't use, because I do use this as a journal and not as a dated planner. But for some ideas, you get in the A6 format, you get a vertical dated calendar in the front. And what I started trying to do is listing the inks that I was using during the specific months and days. So in general, I kept to using one single ink per month. If I did have an inclination to switch the inks in my pens, of course, I gave myself flexibility, but just because I'm always curious about that, that's what I used this tracker for, to just keep a running list of the inks that I was using or switching to for the journal entries that I had. I mostly kept that up. And then in the monthlies section, so this is like a regular calendar section, I tried to do daily gratitude, and it looked really nice, and it was really cool to look back after a month. I did it for one full month in January, and then in February, you know, I mostly did it and it looked really great, but then definitely fell off in the following months. I think in essence this is a really cool idea, and if you're not using the Hobonichi Techo as a functional planner, like, this is a nice idea for monthly sections. But with all the other things that I was doing, I will say it is hard to keep up, but it's just a nice idea and way to utilize the more functional pages if you're not using it in that manner. And then in the back of the Techo, you get all these extra notes pages. I mean, you don't get a lot, but I never really seem to use them. So I had an idea that because the A6 can be kind of small, especially if I want to have a really long journaling session, it's not a lot to just write and write. So what I did was, if I had a day where I just wanted to journal more and I already used up the daily space, I came to my notes section and I would stamp the date that I had kind of extended thoughts and would just kind of write them back here. I didn't do it, you know, all the time, but when I did have something extra to say that day, I would come back here. And of course, I didn't use it often, but another nice idea, because I know that there just are a lot of people who utilize this more so as a notebook, and you have a lot of like more functional and additional pages that personally I never use. So that brings me to kind of what I've been testing out for 2026, and I think that I'm going to officially transition to now. I think I still might kind of like backfill daily things in here, but we'll see how that goes to the end of the year. In my previous videos, you know, I've been in a standard size traveler's notebook. I've been dabbling in this sterling ink insert, which is the N1 size, I believe, as kind of like a creative junk journaling notebook where I just put down like ephemera and things from certain events or purchases that I have, and then kind of write about it. And it's just a low pressure way to just collect things and write things, or even just kind of prepare for journaling when I feel like it. And it's been fun, and it's a way for me to kind of like test this size out and also the format as well. It's been on my mind, and this has also been an experiment, but I'm going to be trying personal journaling in a standard size traveler's notebook insert. And now that I'm back in the practice of daily journaling again, I don't foresee myself really needing a predated journal like I did in 2025 with the Hobonichi A6 HON. I don't feel a need to journal every day, but I do feel confident enough to journal at least every other day. And so the standard size traveler's notebook insert just feels like a very good place for me to journal. I like the size of it, and I like the ability to have more than one insert for different purposes in one system, as well as it being just more portable for traveling, or even if I'm just like moving around the house. Like sometimes I just don't love sitting at my desk and journaling. It's really hard to motivate me at the end of a long day and when all I want to do is like crawl into bed and go to sleep. I think also this size and format just gives me a lot more flexibility, because some days I just want to write and some days I want to just put in a lot of decoration and ephemera and things like that. And I think the size and the paper just gives me more ability to have that creative freedom. I think, yes, the A6 size has always been one that I love, but sometimes I want to like put photos or ephemera that basically takes up a full entry, and also just the chunkiness. I love that, but I think for personal journaling, it just inhibits that. So this can function for like more than one idea and mode of creativity for myself. And in one of Abby C's videos, I remember her saying that if you go more than 3 days of not journaling, it's so much harder to keep up with the habit and just stay motivated. So I found this to be extremely true for myself. It's a rule that I'm gonna continue to keep top of mind and remind myself in 2026, especially this new year, as I'm intending to journal without a pre-dated journal. It's something that I've been keeping in mind this year as I used the A6 Techo as well, and it is something that I need to continue to keep top of mind, because I do notice this habit really does make sense in terms of consistency and motivation to daily journal. Like I mentioned, this one is a creative insert that I've been playing with, and then I plan to have this new red Traveler's cover. This is the Love and Trip release that they had earlier this year. And the main journal that I'm trying out right now for personal journaling is this insert from Sarica Studio. It also uses Tomei River paper, but the standard size, I really am enjoying the size. So far, I'm like just experimenting with the ways that I want to write and like different layouts. But so far I think it's going to be a really great alternative to write in for personal journaling. I do enjoy the size and the ease of the system. The creative journal in the sterling ink insert was just a really fun creative side project for me that gave me a good feel for the insert size and for the paper. This was also Tomei River paper and has dated pages, which is kind of nice. Not that I've been using it for any purpose, but it's a nice option. And then these pages are rounded. So far in comparing the two different inserts, you can see that the sterling ink has this margin where the grid stops at the end of the page. The Sarica Studio is the same as well, and the grid size here is a hair tinier than the sterling ink, but both of them feel comfortable for my writing. I write a little bit larger, also depending on which pen and nib I'm using. I generally write larger, and I think both grid sizes are really comfortable. They're similar to the Hobonichi grid size as well, which I'm used to. I also like that these inserts are not staple bound, and so they do fold flat a bit better, but I sometimes will use a brass clip to hold down the pages, at least initially while I'm writing. But in general, it feels really comfortable and like a traditional journal, which I prefer, rather than the traveler's notebook inserts, which are staple bound. That I think that's one of the reasons that I don't like it, as well as just the layout. Like, you don't have the margins separated on the page layout, which I personally prefer. I think it's just easier on my eyes and it just feels cleaner to me. The traveler's notebook grid inserts go all the way across the page. This is all just personal preference. The only minor thing is that these inserts use a bit of a starker white paper. And as I've been using it, I think the sterling ink is a bit starker than the Sarica Studio, but as I've been using it, I don't notice it as much, and it doesn't totally bother me, but that is one thing I do prefer about the Traveler's insert, is that they do have the cream option, but they don't have a cream grid option. I did recently purchase the Baumkuchem Traveler's Notebook standard size insert, and I've heard great things about this one because it is thicker than your average Traveler's Notebook insert, and it has cream grid paper, which is not a combination that they offer currently with Traveler's Company. So this is a Baumkuchem like special collaboration insert, and my preference is always cream colored paper. It's just something that I just personally like. I also do like chunkier inserts, maybe because they feel more like a traditional journal to me, and I feel like they have a better ability to lay flat than inserts with lesser pages. And even though this one is like the staple insert, it does feel like you can lie it flat at least a bit better than your average Traveler's Company inserts. This one I would still use a clip anyways, just to try it out. These are just all my personal preferences, but I'm excited to try this one out once I am done journaling in the Sarica Studio insert. All that to say, I will be doing my personal journal in a standard size Traveler's Notebook, and I've started using the Sarica Studio insert. I'm still experimenting with it, but so far I really love it, and I think it's just the perfect journal at this stage in my life and my journaling habits for now. I'm really excited to be devoting my journaling lineup mostly to a Traveler's Notebook system, just because I can add in different inserts and then also have my personal daily journaling notebook in one place for convenience sake, and also because I have been wanting to just consolidate the amount of journals that I always am too idealistic for into one system. I think will definitely help with kind of like that anxiety and desire to have so many journals when I know that I need to keep it simple in order to be consistent and to continue motivating myself. I'm excited to start with that. So that brings me to my memory keeping journal. Starting in 2022, I was using the A6 Hobonichi Techo, as you can see, the original, to document family memories and photos and milestones, especially for my kids. And it worked for this year, and I continued on with that because I thought it was a really good format for memory keeping. And I kind of experimented with using the Avec 1 year, and so that would be 2 books, and that kind of worked. And then the next year I wanted to just use a regular A6 Hobonichi notebook so that it was kind of more freeform, where I could add photos as needed without dates. That kind of undated freedom didn't really work because I just did not have enough motivation to keep doing that. And so that's why in 2025 I decided to go back into the dated book for my memory keeping again. I actually used it for a couple months, and then life just got super busy and just have everything like stuffed in here, and hadn't really even had time to print photos, to include ephemera. This format is just not working right now for my life, although I did love how it was going. I just don't know if I can keep it up in this type of format and size. I really did love the A6 Techo format for memory keeping, specifically because it is ideal space for having photos and writing a little bit about different memories and milestones per day. I do think that I tried to make it a little bit easier for myself this year by just printing out weekly photos and then going back per day, pasting them in, doing some fun decoration because this is mostly about my kids, and just simply writing captions for the photos. Sometimes I would have more to say and write longer entries, but I found that as time wore on, even this simple rule for myself just got a lot more stressful, and I just didn't really have a lot of time or energy to keep it up like this. So I'm thinking that life is just a little bit too busy and chaotic for me to consistently still memory keep like this without feeling overwhelmed and stressed. So I think I've also been figuring out if I really need all these separate journals, or if I can consolidate things to either just a photo memory keeping journal or keep it to just purely writing memories in my 5-year journal, which I will get to. But this is still something I'm working through because I really do love memory keeping journals, especially when it comes to my kids and my family and using photos. I just don't know if this really is something I can continue to commit myself to and be consistent with in a way that makes me feel like satisfied, because I didn't even finish this journal, and this one was a dated one. So I know that I just can't commit myself to something like this for 2026. Maybe I'll come back in the future, but I think going forward, I will probably just perhaps use a traveler's insert and maybe dabble in printing photos here and there with like journal entries. But it's gonna have to be low pressure, and I just have to test out how that might feel and look like, and just know that I can't expect myself to do this every day because I just have so much other things going on, and from what I know now, I just don't think that this is doable for me. And that brings me to my 5-year journal. And every year I feel like I say this, but this one truly is the hardest for me to keep up with. And I think partly it is the format, and also just having a lot of other journals where I feel like this one can get a little duplicative and hard to motivate myself to write in it every day. Started it at the end of 2022 and kind of backfilled a little bit when I bought it. So technically I'm in about my 3rd year in this, and at this point I feel like 5 years, for me at least, is a really long time to do this, and I think I would prefer a 3-year journal. Original intent was to just document quick daily memories and milestones of my kids in here and just write like a few lines per day. And I just really love the idea of doing a family memory keeping in a 5-year journal, because it is really a cool thing to be able to flip to any page over the course of the 5-year book and to see all the memories on any given day on one page from those years. And I loved that. I love the idea of, I did a different fountain pen color for each year, so you can see in some months that I was good at this, each year in a different color on one page, which is kind of cool. So I was pretty consistent for a couple months where you can see, and it's just so satisfying to see the different entries within one page in all the different colors per the year. It's just such a sweet thing to have these kind of memories in all in one book as a parent, but it really has just been so difficult for me to keep this up and just motivate myself to do this daily. I think also the size of this and just the layout of the journal is not my favorite. Again, with Hobonichi, they have these quotes in most of their techos, but especially with the 5-year, I don't understand, like, why are we wasting space here, which is part of a year, with a quote on every page, which takes up a big chunk of the page, and also it makes it uneven with different years, so you don't get enough room for the last year on the page. I also just think that just have a bunch of pages that I don't necessarily need because I don't really use them in the front, and then in the back you also have note pages and Japanese specific reference pages. What I have found is that 5 years is just too long of a time for me to have a journal like this. It requires a lot of dedication and effort. As I've been doing this, 3 years just feels more doable for a journal format. I know that Midori makes a 3-year journal, but I just don't love that their journals are hardcover books and they only come in 2 sizes. So my initial plan for a 5-year memory keeping journal, if I decide to continue doing that, is that I am gonna try and backfill 2025 because I have been really inconsistent with this and kind of fell off for many, many months. Thankfully, I've been keeping digital notes almost every day in my phone so that I can go back and write it down when I have time and backfill. So for 2025, I would like to backfill all of those entries just so that I have it at least for the 3 years. And then in January, I am going to try to build my own 3-year journal that will fit in a standard size traveler's notebook. Perhaps I could use the Baumkuchem one. It has, I think, 121 pages, so I'd use a few of these. Or the other option would be perhaps using the Sterling ink notebook size in the N1. They have a 520 page notebook, which scares me a little bit, but it would definitely fit all in one for a 3-year notebook. The only thing is I would have to divide up the pages and kind of separate it all on my own, which also scares me because I'm not like a make it yourself bullet journal type of journaler. I'm just not that type of person, but I think it would be fun for flexibility wise and to just have more freedom in a 3-year journal to customize my own. So I'm really curious to try something like that. And then it would really fit well into the system that I'm hoping to have for 2026. Everything will be a little bit more consolidated into the main traveler's notebook system that I want to have for 2026. I think it'll just motivate me more to complete a 3-year journal if I have everything in a more consistent system that can be portable as well. I think that's one of the main problems I have with this. I don't love carrying this around, and having so many different notebooks and journals in different sizes doesn't motivate me to write. And I think if I can have it in a more portable and compatible, consistent system, that might make a difference. It's gonna be a bit scary for me because just of all the personalization and customization I might have to do on my own, but I am pretty excited about it. So that is my intent for 2026. I'm leaning more towards having an all-in-one book with the Sterling ink insert, but I'm still on the fence because individual inserts, I would need like a few, I would need a few inserts, whether it be from Traveler's Notebook or like this Baumkuchem one. But the individual inserts might also be nice because then they are a little bit slimmer and easier to take with me versus something like a all-in-one Sterling ink 520 page book, which will be chunkier and probably just one Traveler's Notebook cover versus maybe one of these that I can slip in with the other inserts that I'm using. So I'm still deciding, but let me know what you might think about that idea, or if you tried something similar. I've been trying to research if anybody else has done this out there, and there's not a lot of information or like experiences online that I can find. So I'd be really curious if anybody has any thoughts or experiences, because I'd love some feedback on that or insight. Finally, the only planner that I've been using this year and really enjoying, this is the Plotter Bible size in the Liscio leather brown color, and I purchased this secondhand from Japan when things were still feasible and affordable to purchase online from Japan. Basically, I just need something quick to write down lists and appointments and to-dos. So here I have the actually the narrow plotter weekly inserts here because I had been experimenting with a narrow size plotter. By the time I thought to utilize my plotter, the 2025 Bible size weekly inserts were all sold out. Thankfully, someone on Facebook was selling a narrow size 2025 weekly inserts, so I purchased that. It does fit in the Bible size. It's just that, as you can see, the paper is a bit slimmer than the actual Bible size pages, and that's fine with me. It's just been great to test out, and I've been loving it. It's all I use for planning. So on this side, it's a daily schedule with the hourly times here. So what I will do is if I have appointments or different timed tasks, I will mark it on the time side. And then this side, I've kind of experimented in different ways, but for me, what works best is just kind of keeping a running list of to-dos per day. And sometimes I'll write it a day before, sometimes it's as it happens, and checking them off as it goes. Sometimes I split the day into like work and personal things, but for now, because I'm doing mostly independent and like freelance work, I kind of mix it all together, but it's working for me. I've also experimented with other brand refills. So this one is from the brand Knox Japan, and I also really like this layout. As you can see, this one is an actual Bible size page compared to the narrow size. So for 2026, I know that I want the 2026 plotter Bible size of the weeklies, and I'll most likely get the monthlies as well because I think that would also be really helpful to have. I was printing them out on my own using free templates for a monthly, but I just, again, I don't have time nor the energy to print things on my own. I was a little bit idealistic with that. Next year, I think I'm just gonna buy the plotter ones. Then I just have regular plotter Bible paper that I use for kind of like a currently inked page. I have some like lists here and just gridded paper as well from Plotter. I have like list papers for when I do try to make lists, like there's a YouTube videos idea page, a list of shows and movies that I've been watching and how I've rated them. And then there's like shopping tracking here, which I don't want to show, but yes, I try to write down everything that I've purchased and things I've sold. And then I just have notes, lined inserts here for whenever I want to take longer form notes. And this is the sterling ink lined Bible size, personal size insert paper. I will say the paper is really nice, but it is a stark white color. Overall, I definitely think I would like to be in the Bible size rather than the narrow size next year. So this is the only planner that I'm going to continue to be using, and I'm just glad that I've found something that works for me and helps me schedule my days and keep my tasks all in one. Of course, I have appointments and things on my calendar on my phone as well, but this is like the physical planner that I'm using, and it is great so far. Could this be the year that I only have 2 systems for my planner and my journals? I'm really excited to see if I can consolidate and utilize a 2-book system. I'm feeling hopeful about it. Let me know what your journaling and planning lineup looks like for 2026. Thanks again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.